Good morning, everyone. My name is Debbie Mann. I'm with Festivals and Events Ontario. And today our session is Festivals Helping Festivals, our roundtable of discussion on a specific topic. And today it's on entertainment and, the challenges that we're all experiencing and the good that we're experiencing this season with entertainment. There are going to be a couple of subjects, then once Marnie says who those are, I'll post them in there. And if you've just joined us, if you can put if your name isn't in there, put your name in, and if your company's not in there, put your company name. Great, Marnie, over to you.
Hi, and good morning, everybody. Thank you for taking time out of your day to be a festival or a support of a festival today. The whole purpose of these is to share information, to bounce ideas, questions, and challenges and successes, so that we can all learn from each other, because the industry is kind of in a turnover now that events are starting to happen again, and people are starting to get out there in the communities and interact in whichever way possible that they can. We're engaging sponsors who have concerns about how we go forward with our events, and we're also working with many other pillars of events. So this is where we all come together, and think of it as sitting down for a meal and just chit-chatting about things of concern for our industry. So we're taking the direction to provide topics where we can all jump in and share what is working, what's not, things like that, in ways of being positively supportive. So as Debbie mentioned, we're talking about the entertainment aspect to an event and things surrounding it. And it is a topic that we could probably talk about all day long, because it's such a large part of the events that we put on, or working with our venues and sponsors, because they all have their direct concerns. So we narrowed it down to 3 topics for this particular topic, or subtopics, I guess we would say. And that came down to cost, availability, and risk management of entertainment, which is a mini layered onion. But I thought we would start off first with the cost aspect. That could be in many different directions. We all know the costs of running the events have gone up considerably because of, the trickle-down effect of the pandemic and economy. And we're just wondering, when it comes to the programming that you're providing along the entertainment, how are you working with, increased costs or things staying the same? Are you finding it difficult to get those costs covered by sponsors? What successes have you had? We would really love to know, and so that we can all support each other by maybe brainstorming and bringing in some new ideas. So I'm hoping that there is somebody out in this wonderful field of attendees today that would like to jump in with a little bit of perspective from their end. Do we have anybody ready to jump in and say, hey, I've got something to share at all?
I can add a few things from the perspective of the agency or company that works with different television celebrities, and also we have a licensed children character division. We've been really active, starting in July, working with Canada's Wonderland's Kids Fest, which was really, really well attended, exceeded their expectations. And now, we've gotten a little bit of support from a federal grant specifically for festivals. So we've been actively looking for festivals and booking festivals September, October currently, and having all our children's characters. So we have a kids character division that's licensed. And I have to say, even the mall events we've been doing, I don't see, it's not jam-packed, but for the most part, the outdoor events seem to be doing really, really well. Next up for us is the York-Durham Historic Railway, and they're seeing like record support. And I don't know, outdoor versus indoor, we'll get a taste of that coming up in October for a few indoor events we're doing. But I mean, it looks like people want to get out there, and certainly seeing, people mixing masks, no masks. It's really a blend. And, I think it's still going to build, but I think next year it should be that much better.
Good. Thank you, Lori, for sharing that. Are you finding that you're getting requests from other parts of the province as well? Because I know, being located up in Northern Ontario, providers like yourself are scarce. We can't find them. A lot had to close up shop because of the pandemic. Are you finding there's a bit more opportunity in Northern Ontario, or even other parts like
yeah? Well, I have to say, during the pandemic, we did a lot of Zoom events because some of our HGTV people speak to the apprentice boards. So we did a number of events, like literally all throughout the province, that were Zoom. But because of that, now they're planning for 2023 to do in person. Yeah, of course there's costs, obviously, but our new motto is, even from our standpoint, is trying to work with each, event almost individually, giving them the most bang for their buck. And I'm sorry to hear, but to be honest with you, when we have licenses for these costumes, so there really shouldn't be any other providers offering Peppa Pig or anybody else. And if they are, let me know. No, but because we cover Canada, so we do our best. We'll even try and, to reduce costs, we'll try and hire local, dancers, anyone that's got their, criminal records check and is could be a dancer or someone who fits the bill, an actor in that area. We'll hire locally so that, cut down on the cost of bringing our talent with us if we can't drive and we have to fly. So, I think the new word of the day from our standpoint is just, what can make it work, trying to work within budgets. And sometimes having some of this grant money has really helped us reach out to some areas where we probably wouldn't have gone. And again, it's only because of a cost factor. There's some hard costs that we can't do anything about. So, and they have gone up. But yeah, I think we just like to try and work with everyone and, make it affordable, but also make it successful, doing some add-ons like coloring sheets or like giveaways, or sometimes we've been able to supply like a basket for giveaway, or for raffle or for something. But I think that, in my opinion, the old days of just doing, show up, do a meet and greet, leave, I think everything has to be embellished and stepped up a bit.
Okay, very good input. Thank you. Kyle, your hand is up.
Yeah, just in terms of cost, I mean, I know there's a lot of things affecting the industry right now. I mean, inflation is still up around like 7 or 8%. But from what I've seen in working with my clients and some of my colleagues as well, is we're still largely working with pre-inflation prices. We're still largely working with pricing from before COVID. I think with a number of events that we've worked with in the past, we would try to lower our rate to work within budgets. However, because of hard costs like fuel and things that I think somebody has mentioned in the chat there, it's made it a lot harder to lower some of those rates. But I find that industry rate is still largely about the same. It may have been time to increase some of those rates. But for myself, I'm still largely working on industry standard that's already 10 to 15 years old. And I know that a number of festivals that I've worked with have found challenges in booking entertainment like one by one when they're trying to do it themselves. Mm-hmm. So that's one thing that some festivals work with me to book on their behalf, because we're already immersed in the industry and work with a number of people and know what industry standards are. Often being able to take some of those and package it all together actually saves them on cost. So working with an agent or working with a management company actually helps them to manage their cost and get more for their entertainment budget rather than going out and trying to book things individually.
That is an amazing add-on to take that on, because so many of the events are run by not-for-profit organizations or volunteers, and some people don't have that skill to be able to negotiate with entertainment. Having read a few writers over the course of my career, I would have really appreciated somebody else doing it at some points, because it can be very convoluted, and when you have the industry knowledge, that can definitely be a boon to savings across the board, or even quality of what's going up on the stage.
Well, and especially now, not knowing who may still be there, because there are a number of people who, because, you know, just like anything else, like in terms of AV companies, or, you know, some aren't around because they weren't able to weather the storm, which I think is, you know, is another thing to also keep in mind, is that a number of these suppliers, especially in the entertainment industry, didn't get any of those supports for the last few years. There was a challenge in the tourism industry where I think only 10% of circus companies got any type of funding support for their business through this time. So the ones that are out there are, this is their time where they're trying to recover. They're not trying to do it short term, they're trying to do it long term. But we're all trying to sustain ourselves and, you know, make it back and get a firm footing back so that we can keep going forward.
That's true, that there was a definite gap in funding availabilities for suppliers within the industry. I don't know if it was that they weren't taken seriously, or they felt that maybe the funding would be coming in from somewhere else, but there was definitely a great loss within the industry. I have some associates that were lucky to pick up the pieces of those that had left, and were able to hang on, and hopefully they'll continue to hang on as we get through this hump of economic craziness. So yeah, it's been a struggle, definitely on many levels for the suppliers.
Yeah, and if I can just add in one more thing as well, just as a suggestion, is, you know, budget isn't a bad word. Don't be afraid to share your budget with the entertainment suppliers you're working with. It's not showing your hand. It's actually showing what, especially if it's working with an agent, you're helping them to understand how they can maximize your budget instead of booking a bunch of things that, you know, maybe wouldn't be a fit for you. It's giving them an idea of what they can piece together to really maximize your dollars and give you a dynamic programming for the budget you have.
That's very, very good advice. I see that I think it's Jen has added in, Jen Wright. Sorry, her mic isn't working, but she can offer some insights into regards to musicians and entertainment. Jen says, I find that booking anyone from out of town is now including fuel, meals, and hotels in their quotes, which we didn't see before. It limits us to be able to bring new talent to the area. I also know that it was time for talent and musicians to raise their prices. We are reworking budgets to allow for this. We are also having to bring event supplies from out of town as the smaller companies have closed due to or during the pandemic, regarding tents and draperies, etc. Yes, that is very true. I worked on a multi-day, community event over the course of this summer, and getting tents and porta potties was such a struggle, as well as security. Those are the three things that we required to host this traveling event. And we were very lucky to be able to pull it off, but it was without no duress. It was a worry at some, and sometimes the footprint looked different because of what was available. And yes, I have seen where these costs are now being included, whereas before you were paying just for the hours of their talent, and now a lot of this is coming into play. Again, I'm throwing up my location in Northern Ontario. Those costs are even more now because you're flying people in, or they're incorporating the drive, which, you know, mileage per cents per mileage does not cover anywhere near the cost of the gas to get up past North Bay at least anyways. So these are all things that have to be considered. And I know for some of the events that I'm working on for next year, we're looking at some in-kind donations such as rooms, such as even meal coverage, you know, and these come on as sponsors with the event, because to tack that on makes it very difficult, because in a lot of the funding applications, that travel portion isn't covered, only the actual performance. So it's very interesting what this footprint of costs now look like in reflecting onto a budget. So let's move on, unless somebody else has something to contribute to that portion of the topic. I see a hand. Colleen, hi.
Hi,
I need you to come up.
going to say that us here in Quinte West, we can echo Jen Wright's comments. Being a smaller municipality and outside of the GTA, it's always been a challenge for us to have some of those, you know, bigger talents and things like that. Some of them just won't travel up to our area, or if they are, then it's so expensive by the time we include all of those things, and rightfully so. They deserve their pay as well, but unfortunately we work with smaller budgets. So, but by the time we add a lot of that stuff in, it kind of knocks us out of the game on a lot of this. And so we've been forced to get really creative and dig deep for our local talent, and as close as we can. And if we want something else, it takes a lot of budgeting for sure, and negotiating and sort of manipulating things to allow for that. And it has definitely increased after the pandemic. I find some places that I've contacted just outright said, we're not traveling that far right now, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, the same thing in Timmins. Had that problem happen back in May with an event, and the entertainer was very interested, and up to the 10th hour was going to come, but then when we discovered the costs for the travel, we had to cancel and basically stay regional as opposed to bringing somebody in from Southern Ontario. We're working towards that for our budget for this coming year, because we need to keep the programming fresh. So yeah, like you say, budgets have to be played around with a little bit to see where we can scale back in order to elevate the quality of what's happening on the stage. So let's move on to the next part of the topic, which is, well, it kind of blends in with costs, but availability. FEO has a great list of suppliers when it comes to entertainment, and I know myself, I have used that. I've also had to go the Google effect of trying to also find those that may not be members as our suppliers when we're looking for something that may not be listed there. And what I have found, you know, in 25 years, my portfolio of who's available to entertain in various aspects has dwindled considerably down, because people may leave the industry, information may have changed in order to contact them, and some may have just decided that they're no longer performing. Has anyone encountered this? Has this affected your programming greatly? Did it give you opportunity to freshen things up? You know, do you have anything that you'd like to contribute to that portion of the topic today? Or if you are an entertainer, what have you noticed in changes regarding availability, and have you had to become a little more creative in getting those bookings with your potential venues or organizations for an event? Oh, Kyle's got his hand up.
I didn't want to hog the conversation, but just in terms of availability, like I'll speak from my personal experience. You know, before the pandemic, I really couldn't, like, looking back, I couldn't comprehend how I used to do the schedule that I used to do. Like, it was actually something that the pause kind of allowed me to reflect on was just, the number of all-nighters driving from an event to an event, and realizing that, time is a limited resource. And that is one of those things when you're booking entertainment, whether it's like a big band or a busker or, any type of entertainment, is, they will probably have some limited availability. But that's really the best tool in your arsenal, is to always start the conversation early. Usually around now, I'm actually already getting requests for next summer. Like, this is around the time where the conversation starts to happen. Even by the end of the year, some stuff will already be locked in. Usually when it comes to conference time, that's usually when it's just kind of like filling in gaps, or kind of even starting towards the next year. I find a lot of festivals work on booking things about 12 months ahead, or planning 12 months ahead. Always reach out and talk early, because that availability will be limited. And I know for a lot of us, like I'm looking at things and going, okay, I would rather not have to do an all-nighter between two events. So I might even, just for my own health and sustainability, not travel quite so hard. So I'm even taking a different look at how I'm booking things.
Interesting. I know for one event that I was involved with a few years ago, we were in negotiations with the entertainer, and halfway through the negotiations, they broke off negotiations because they were getting a better deal elsewhere. And it put such a different spin and vibe on the event for what we had envisioned, because we were close to signing that person, we hadn't been chasing down other backup plans, or at least investigating what other opportunities were. Kind of naive of myself back in the day. I learned to kind of start feeling things out a little bit sooner. I'm hoping that that's not going to be the case now, because I know everybody's starting to book their events. That I think there's a better light on 2023 going forward, because we've had what I call our practice year this year with getting events going back, making the public a little more comfortable to attend. And now that we're, scaling things up, at least from what I can see, that, access to entertainment is going to be a little bit more difficult to get and negotiate, because there's going to be, what I am hoping is, a high demand for that part of the industry, where the entertainers are going to be batting away, invitations to consider performing at an event or concert or what have you. So, I'm just wondering if anyone has thought about those backup plans to entertainers. I know currently right now a major event in our community is just about to announce their headliner for next July. And this being so early, I'm worried for them, because they are one of my pet projects, that between now and then, all the things, and I am a worst case scenario person, that could happen, between illness and lockdowns and, what's your plan B and C when it comes to the entertainment portion, which is always, the big draw at an event. So I'm hoping, people have put that kind of thought process into it. I see that Peter has his hand up in the chat. Peter McCluskey from Garlic Fest.
Hi. Well, it was in regard to how things are different this year and the challenges of attracting talent. I don't think we're on the same level as some of the people speaking. Our budget is pretty small, and these aren't major gigs we're booking, but there's still challenges and budget and being able to pay. So there are a couple of things. We've worked with a music manager for, I think, 5 years now, and who has relationships with musicians. And Donald Kwan, helps make things run quite smoothly for the musicians every year at the Toronto Garlic Festival on our music stage. And I think that helps us in negotiating, that musicians know in advance, because they talk to each other, how was it at the festival? Was it smooth or not smooth? Did you get paid readily? Things like that have helped. And this year they wanted to be paid in cash, so we agreed to that. Another thing that helped is we offered to pay. We paid money, obviously Canadian currency, but we also gave them some garlic, a substantial amount of garlic, actually. And maybe it was just the fun aspect of that for them, or that they really loved garlic, but it helped. It really helped to add in some garlic to the deal.
That's a really unique way of making an impact on your entertainers, providing an experience that's going to stay with them for
Exactly.
a while.
Well, there is, yeah, there is that. So we have actually done that in many instances, because we know this person is going to take the garlic home. They're going to talk about it with their partner or friends. They're going to share it. So it's got great PR value as well. But it was a lot of fun to be bringing. It was about 75 bulbs of garlic up to this stage at the beginning, and feeling like, garlic was once upon a time used as currency in the Silk Road. So it's fun that we're kind of reprising that tradition. Anyway, fun aside, it did help to secure some musicians and created a lot of goodwill.
Okay, that's really neat. I need to get to that festival. Big lover of garlic.
Yeah.
We had a very impactful event up here back in 2017 and 2018 called Stars and Thunder, and it was a fireworks festival, and we had major entertainment coming in and working with many of the entertainment agencies to do these bookings. And there was very little negotiation when it came to the riders. Everything was provided, red carpet treatment, the whole bit. And by the third day of the event, we were getting calls back from the agencies saying, "What are you doing up there? Stop being so nice and warm and welcoming, because you're going to make it difficult for negotiations going forward." Because the entertainers were calling back saying, "This is amazing. We are so happy. This, great experience. You may be coming to a mining town that may not be aesthetically pleasing, but your experience will be top notch." And that's what I had always advocated for, that, you want people to come back. They talk to each other, you want them to have the experience that they should be having. Lori, you have a hand up from Daytime Enterprises.
Yeah. Hi. I just wanted to say, I know with the availability and the different, brands of talent and different categories, I just think that everybody talking to each other, even for myself, of course we have the people we represent, and we've got the licensed division, but we do carolers, over the years we've had to, when we worked with Zellers all those moons ago, we had to get local talent in almost every market in Canada for them, and then, fly in someone like a soap star or something. But we created this huge base of all this talent. And yes, some of it's changed, obviously, but even now we book carolers for Canadian Tire Trail. And it's what we do is we actually go directly to the singers, and we created our own little group of singers, quite a nice little band of very talented people. But I think conversation and just asking, even if it's not on our roster, if we know someone or know something, we're happy to pass it along. It's hard to put all that in an email, so I just hope people know that I think communication is always key. And if it's possible to kind of, bundle over a few days, a few different locations or whatever it is, I think from our perspective, we just want to work with people. We want to get our people out there, but we also have a mind to, we've been in business a very long time, and we'd like to be in business longer. So I think, the game plan may have changed a bit, but I think with the acceptance of not on the financial side, of course, I know cancellations are horrible, but I know for us, we're honoring all our 2020 contracts at the rates that we gave them. Whenever they have the money or they have the framework, we're going to honor those contracts. But also too, moving forward, I mean, God forbid things happen and it can't happen. I think everyone's got that little bit of, okay, maybe it's just weariness, but we've been through it. And, the fact that it can happen for a variety of reasons, I think should take a little bit of the edge or the worry off. And again, it's not on the financial side. I know sometimes there's costs you just can't recoup. But I think overall, I think people have kind of like that mindset now that, it's even if something huge is, canceled. Okay, move on, right? So that's kind of my 2 cents. But I think communication and just asking the question. And I think I loved Kyle's thing is just tell us what the budget is, because sometimes you can dance for days and there's no need for it. Just tell us what you can afford. And if we can make something happen, we will. Simple as that.
I know as an event organizer, sometimes getting that information from the entertainment is part of building the budget, because you're not quite sure what you've got to spend yet. So when you present the budget back to your committee saying, okay, we need this much, and they approve it, that, I think that part of the conversation needs to be made like, okay, I'm building a budget. I'm kind of asking what you have available, and I'm going to go back to the committee with it so that I can see if we can squeeze that in. I think is a lot of times what does happen without it actually being said. Sometimes the budget isn't said, okay, we've got so much for entertainment. It's usually, okay, we need to build a budget to ask for the money so that we can come back. So I think sometimes that gets dropped out of the conversation. I know, at least on my part, it used to, no longer, being a lot more transparent and clear now. The learning curve is great in the industry, most definitely. Hey, Kyle, you have something.
Marnie, I think what you said is great. Is actually like, sometimes you do need from your entertainers to know what they cost so that you can build it into your budget, which again, starting the conversation early. I know at FEO conference, I used to mention this to people. It's just like, if you talk to us early in the year, I'll be happy to provide you, like, let me know what it is you're looking for and give you an idea so you can build it into your budget and bring that to the committee, which I think is great and a great conversation to have with any of your entertainers. I did also want to mention that Peter is absolutely right. It's not all about money. Sometimes how you treat your artists makes a big, big difference, especially if you want to bring in certain artists or, make sure that people keep coming back. I know a number of festivals who really focus on how they treat their artists, and usually every time at the end of the weekend, it's like, let us know when we can come back. And they do talk. They talk to their friends, and more people want to come. I know a festival that I work with that'll be happening in a couple of weeks. I help them book entertainment and manage and build schedules for everything for the entire weekend, so that it's just a part of the festival that they don't have to worry about. It's going to run. And same thing as, after every weekend, anytime I bring up a new artist, they're just like, let me know when I can come back. Because it's, simple things like, having a really nice hotel in a beautiful area in Muskoka. It's just like, you want to spend the weekend up there, and you go on walks after, and, it's a really nice, a nice add-on that, doesn't have to impact your entertainment budget as much. It's just treating people well.
Yep. No, it's true. It's true. I've always built what I call the green rooms, or the trailers, to be consistent with whatever the top rider is. Well, some of the little guys that might be from the community or regionally anyways, that aren't used to that treatment, they're going to get a bit of that, so that, they feel welcomed and valued as entertainers. They're not just getting up there on the stage doing the thing and leaving. They are part of the event. And I like to see an entertainer walk away having a impactful experience from the community. So if it's a licensed event, the local craft beers, the local charcuterie business, will be part of this, so that they're realizing that there's a lot more to it, to their participation, and how it's valued by the organization.
And
some people have the ability, some don't, but showing how you value your entertainers, I think, is really important in the success of an event, from the beginning of the contract negotiation to when they walk off site.
And
And
sometimes
Debbie, you
thinking about what
second?
an artist, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay. Go ahead, Kyle.
I was just going to say, and sometimes thinking about what an artist might need on the road, if they're on tour, what's something that they might need, it's not just about, having 1,000 brown M&Ms, but, what's something that an artist who has been on tour for 2.5 months might need, something like water bottles or, just little things that is going to make their stay easier.
That's very true. That's very true. Debbie.
Well, I just wanted to add in to my experience at our conference. Every year we used to bring in entertainment for our showcase. And one year I remember there was this group that came in, and like you were all talking about, is treating your entertainment with respect. And I treated them like I would treat all my suppliers. I had never met them, and one of the things, so they got a greeting, they were given a tour of the conference, the green room where they were going to come in, an invitation to come and meet and greet at the end of their performance. And at the end of it, they just said to me, we were so nervous coming here. We didn't know what to expect. And I think that's something that I have to remember, is that all these, these entertainers, we think that they're, they are not nervous, that they've done this repeatedly, but they still do get really nervous. And they were just so thrilled with the fact of the welcome and the acceptance and the participation that they received. And now I know I'm talking a conference, not a festival, but it did give them a sense of what the industry was going to be like for them. And so I just wanted to add that, because I think we get so caught up in the details of our events that we forget that they're nervous too, and try to make their way a little bit better. Again, they weren't a Tim McGraw or they weren't a big event, but they were on their way, and it made a difference.
Definitely. Colleen.
Just wondering if anyone else has had this experience. I do have one busker who I've worked with who will work with budgets on me and when he travels. And if we're just a few $100 out from each other, he works with me, and what we allow him to do is then throw his hat out to accept tips and donations. I'm just wondering if anyone else has any experience with that, or Kyle, if that's something that, or also Lori, if that's something that your organizations would consider when negotiating with these smaller communities like ours.
Yeah, I can jump in on that. That there is like, as a busker, and anytime a client comes to me with a rate, especially if it's within like a couple $100, I try to always work with clients. We know that most of our clients that we work with in this industry are not-for-profits or charities or even municipalities. It's not necessarily a for-profit venture. And again, we're all interested in helping to sustain the industry, to keep it going. And most often we would rather work than not work. But yeah, in terms of busking, sometimes we have rates where for a busker show, a rate where we don't put out our hat and a rate where we do put out our hat. So, if we know that it's an event that, is not going to it's just a little bit shy, being able to throw out a hat absolutely can make a big difference.
For us, I'm actually not allowed to charge for anything to do with the characters, like our kids' characters, right? So for meet and greets, we can't charge for photos. We can't kind of put a price on that. Now, what we have done to kind of, help the, event out where possible is we would either supply a gift basket or something they can enter to win. And what the profit's clearly going to, without saying directly, or just to help the event out. If it's a not-for-profit, then it's perfect. If it isn't, then it can be for, for next year. it's all in how you frame it. And then maybe people can buy tickets for that raffle prize, and you can generate some income that way. We have to be away from it because, again, it just has to do with our license. For our live people like HGTV and that kind of thing, we would try and see what sponsors we could possibly bring in to help out with the cost, or offer to a sampling maybe. Because I think that we're just kind of getting our feet wet in that market. We've always been kind of on the end of where the talent, so where we bring the talent, so people sample and do stuff around us. But we're trying to bring that a little bit in-house, in that if we can get something that is a value, like an added value to the event, that would either increase the traffic, or possibly something that can be raffled, or to do something like that, we're happy to bring that in. So it's just a little bit different with the licenses. And but I think that for us, we like to keep it arm's length. So it's not about kind of like who we've brought in. It's more about the event and the people that are local, like the chair, like whatever it is, whatever it's going to be. We prefer that be the focus for any kind of money coming in.
Thank you both.
Yeah, thank
Sometimes
you.
I feel like there's a misconception too. We run into a lot because we are a municipality. Everybody thinks we have these endless bags of money and these huge budgets, and like transparency is key. And we get very small budgets for our events, and the rest of the money needs to be raised by our networking, sponsorship, partnerships, and those kinds of things. I think that's a huge misconception that we deal with working for municipality. Like, well, you've got the money, or just go back and get your budget up, and it's really not that simple.
Yeah, I can appreciate it. We do work with a lot of different cities and a lot of different events, whether they're tree lightings or summer festivals or whatever. And yeah, they've actually brought in sponsorship to have the character. If it's a character thing, they've brought in sponsorship. And again, I think if we have people that we know that would, welcome the opportunity to either sample or do something that possibly could create some extra money for, the organizer, then we're happy to put that together.
Peter, you have your hand up in the chat.
Oh, two things. So one is on top of what Colleen just said. We have about a 6-foot tall sandwich board at the entrance to the Toronto Garlic Festival, where people are paying their $5 admission, and it says on that Toronto Garlic Festival, it's a not-for-profit, and gate admission goes toward insurance, advertising, renting this venue, all these things that people don't think about, because they just imagine that I don't know what they think. And then regarding buskers and musicians, this year we made an exception, and we had a festival poet who we paid, but also made an exception where she was allowed to collect donations from people for writing a Garlic poem, and normally we wouldn't do that, but it allowed us to bring her on board, and we didn't seem to get any pushback from visitors. Our face painter, for example, doesn't accept donations. We just pay her. Our musicians, we just pay, and there's no donations.
Okay. And Kyle.
One thing I just wanted to mention, based on what Colleen mentioned, is just a reminder that for a lot of us entertainers and buskers, again, the transparency, like Colleen mentioned, is great, because it helps us to understand what we can do and what, and letting us know what we can work within, because our interest is in being part of those communities. Again, we realize the impact that we have and our purpose in helping to build those community events, and how strong the need is for those community events. And we want to continue to be part of that. And, it means working, like we've chosen to work in an industry that is largely not-for-profits, charities, things like that, because of the connection that we feel to that work and to be in those spaces. So, again, just that transparency, building those relationships really helps to understand, when a BIA comes to me, just like, we'd love to have you again, we have this event, and this is our budget, it's, you know, usually my answer is absolutely, you know, whatever that budget is going to be, because we know that there's going to be more events after that. And it just helps us to keep working together and to keep building those communities. And in the 18 years that I've been doing this, I've seen communities grow. And it's a fantastic thing to be a part of. And that's why we're all here.
Thank you very much for sharing that. And it's true. We get into this industry for various reasons. Some of us are tricked into it by volunteering, and you know, others, you know, to share the skill set and talent and to build it to be even bigger. But yes, transparency, communication, you know, treating volunteers, treating entertainers, you know, as human beings, and being there for them to support them while they do their performance on stage is so critical to the overall satisfaction of the event, you know, on the entertainer's behalf and on the attendees. You know, you know when your entertainer isn't happy on stage, it comes out in the performance very visually sometimes, and not all the time, but. So we'll move on to the last topic, which was the risk management portion of entertainment. And that, like I said, this particular overall topic for the day could be a whole day discussion. When it comes down to risk management, there's different levels to it. And one of them is, you know, engaging with the entertainer to ensure that what aligns with the theme and the spectators that'll be observing the performance. For example, if you're in you're hosting an event that is primarily geared towards maybe agricultural entities, and that's it. You know, would you be bringing in somebody that does punk rock? You know, with that vibe. You know, if it's a serious event, would you bring in somebody that, you know, for example, from Kyle's thing, would you bring a stilt walker into a serious conference, or would you want that to lighten the mood of the conference, because sometimes those topic levels can be really heavy, and it's nice to have that little break when you walk outside of the session room, you know. So handling that part of the risk. You know, venues, are you finding more restrictions to what you're bringing in? You know, some have flames and explosions on stage, you know, for certain musical performances, or even science sessions. Having traveled with Science North this year, we had to make sure we were following a lot of regulations, because not that things were blown up, but things caught fire, but they were supposed to, and safely. You know, it's fun working in the science world sometimes. You know, things like that, working with a venue. I have to say, I had a very great, wonderful learning experience with one community that had probably the best special event permit application I've ever seen. It was quite lengthy, and it covered everything that you could possibly think of, right down to napkins. It was crazy. But overall, because of that, the event went perfectly. Always start those things very early. So just those bits of risk management. Kyle, your hand is up, and I want to hear what you have to say.
I almost forgot, because I was listening to that, and it was. But one thing I was just going to mention, that, you know, in terms of risk management, in terms of the entertainment side, great things to look for is, one, are they insured, and does that insurance match what their activities are, and does it match the minimum for what your venue is? Because some venues will have different liability limits. You know, do they cover that? Another great thing to look for is, how long have they been in the industry? Have they, you know, what other events have they done? Because there's some festivals that I've done where I've gotten a phone call the morning as I'm getting ready, and they're, you know, saying, hey, can we change the plan, and you can MC the parade instead of being in it, because somebody had to call in sick. You know, having those people who can help be problem solvers on site are as important as their experience and faith that they will be able to do what they do. And another great thing to look for is, are they a member of a professional association? Like, are they members of FEO? Because then they will probably be known in the industry. They probably have some commitment or investment in it. And it's one of those, like looking at the supplier list for FEO suppliers. It's a great resource to just have some confidence in the people that you're bringing in and the type of risk that they may be bringing along with them.
Yeah,
This
definitely.
year in Quinte West, we have really tightened up our insurance requirements for vendors and whatnot. In previous years, we just kind of seemed to take on the risk for everybody. And under our umbrella in the last couple of years, particularly this year, they're getting a lot more stringent about us having the copy of the insurance, you know, whether it's 2 million or 5 million, depending whether there's alcohol or a high risk activity involved. And we're demanding that from everyone at this point. Of course, we're running into cases where some of these smaller sort of side businesses or bands don't have their own insurance. And in that case, we will cover it, but as part of their payment or whatever, we put a little piece in there and pay them a little extra so that covers off the insurance while we're sorting this all out. But it's definitely becoming a bigger thing here as well, the liability, making sure that we're dealing with people who are either WSIB certified or, like you say, part of one of our partner organizations. We're demanding insurance. So yeah, it's that we're paying a lot more attention to risk as well, and not so willing to take it all on ourselves anymore.
Sure, that's one of many communities, you know, before things were just signed off and events went ahead, and then the society became litigious and everybody's, you know, the risk factors increase, you know, behaviors change at events. I've noticed over the years. So there, you know, those risks do become higher. Peter, you had your hand up.
Yeah, we've always asked vendors to provide proof of insurance, and also they have to provide additional insured. Our venue requires that, and sometimes, depending on who our grantors are, we have to get that, and it's always a big pain. One thing we did this year was we partnered with Duo Insurance, DUUO, and we set up on their site, you can search festivals and find Toronto Garlic Festival. And as a vendor, you can buy insurance from them, one-time insurance for about $15. And that was a huge boon for us, because built into the insurance when the vendor bought it was all this additional insured stuff. So for businesses who don't have their own insurance, to be able to buy one-time event insurance for $15, and in previous years it was around $100, was a great advantage. So I highly recommend Duo Insurance.
Thank you. Thank you. So we're at the last 5 minutes of the event today. Does anybody have any burning questions or comments before we break for the day? Kyle, your hand's up.
Yeah, I always have a comment.
Good.
I know I touched on it a bit earlier, but I just wanted to mention again that something like your entertainment suppliers can be, you know, when you work with trusted suppliers, they can be a solution for more than just your programming. They can help incorporate what your marketing needs are. They can be there just like any other supplier when, you know, when something hits on a site like bad weather, you know, everybody works together, whether it's vendors, entertainment. You know, having those trusted and experienced suppliers, we're all part of the same community, and we all work together to problem solve and make sure that an event, whatever might happen, that we bring solutions to the table and help every event be a successful event. So, you know, just keep that in mind. Is, you know, think of your entertainment as an investment in problem solving, just like any other partner that you bring to your event.
There's something to be said for getting to know your entertainment, whether it's the booking agency or the individual or group, because that's an access to a whole new network that you may not have had before. And, have those conversations above and beyond just the contract negotiations. Get to know the people you're working with, because once you do, there are so many new opportunities for both parties, because now you've joined new networks together, and, you're learning about mitigating risk management because they have experience, you have experience, and coming together you can find some really good solutions, like Kyle says. And Peter, you had your hand up again in the chat.
I'm sorry, I'm so chatty today, but
It's good.
That point about getting to know not necessarily our musicians, but at least the guy who knows the musician. So this fellow Donald Kwan, who is not only a musician but been our music manager, and we were wondering, can we afford Donald this year? But we realized Donald paid for himself in spades, because we did have some major issues on the venue, some electrical issues, and he was able to troubleshoot some of those things this year. And we realized gosh, he has been, having him on board every year has been kind of an insurance policy, where this year we needed to cash it in.
Yeah, exactly. Acknowledging those type of partnerships are crucial to the success. Can we afford them? Can we afford not to?
Yeah, and you don't know, and you don't know until you need them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'll open the floor one more time. Debbie?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I know we're talking festivals, but I'm going back to the conference, and I always encourage our members, our festival and municipal members, to really get to know our supplier members, because they go from event to event to event. They see things, they hear things, they meet people who they might not have, would not come across normally. And I find our suppliers members a wealth of information, such a great source, and such a great way to, even for me in this world, a great way for me to meet new members and to get their insight and their knowledge. And I get pretty excited about it. So, I encourage everybody, really get to know your suppliers, because yeah, like I said, they're at every festival where we're at one, and they get to meet, they get to see things and can share the information. So that's all I wanted to say on that.
It's very true. I am a living testament to that, and learning to create that network through FEO was absolutely wonderful. And great partnerships have come out of it, and sharing of ideas like we're doing here today, and have been since April, right?
Mm-hmm.
April since we started. Wow.
Yeah.
Gone fast. And let me tell you, the binder I have on new network opportunities, things that I've learned from the various festivals and municipalities and suppliers. This is gold. This is gold for being able to support the industry, because there's no book on it. There are many books on different aspects of it, but that in-person live information sharing, I think, is really important. You may not take away something today, but the next one you might. I know every single time we've gathered here online, I've got notes. I'm up to 2 pages today, so I've taken it quite a bit. Thank you, everybody. And I know sometimes we're just, some members are a little shy to come forward. Please, at any time, if questions come out of what you've listened to, and if you go back and listen to the previous casts that we've done, reach out to us, reach out to Debbie, myself, or anyone at FEO, and say, hey, I'd like a little more information on, or I'd like to discuss. We're open to those chats, definitely. And, we want to support you in whatever way possible. And if we can't find it, we'll find it for you.
We know who to go to. There's a whole network of people here. So on just that note too, if you do have any questions, one of the things I've started is, if you're looking for something specific, I will send out a Festivals Helping Festivals note to the membership and ask your specific question for you, and hopefully get answers and send them back to you. I wanted to thank you for joining us today. This was such an amazing conversation. For me, I learned so much, like Marnie said. Next week is this coming weekend is Thanksgiving, so we will not have a Tuesday Talks next week, but we will on October 18th. We've got Supply and Demand. Kyle will be leading that. And our company that we're going to be talking to is Get Ready Global, and it's with Scott Ashley and Julie Opie. And what they have is they have a first aid app and an emergency planning app that they want to talk to us about. So I hope you'll join us, bring questions, see how it'll help you in your festival. And I wish you all a great long weekend, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks. Thanks for joining us, and we're signing off. Thanks,
Thanks so much,
everyone.
everyone.
Bye.